some interesting, political dynamics here where the people that you might expect to cover this sort of thing haven't. And I'm curious what your view is, or the view among striking workers is, about the politics of this moment, and whether they are disappointed in any way about one political camp or another not being attentive to this issue.
Well, I've had numerous people ask me, when is the national media going to cover this? And unfortunately, the national media doesn't cover strikes anymore. They don't cover labor actions anymore. Let's remember who owns the national media. It's people who really would prefer that labor just not be talked about at all. So what we end up with is or people like Kim and other people who are doing great work out there getting our story out. But it doesn't hit it doesn't hit the NBCs, the MSNBCs, the Fox News. Kim's right. A lot of these folks voted for Donald Trump. They're Fox News watchers. A lot of them didn't, but a lot of them did. This is Alabama, after all, and Alabama voted 60-some% for Donald Trump, and our members reflect the diversity that exists there. But this is a story that you would think Fox News would be all over. But here's the difference. This is a story about working people fighting back against moneyed interests. Okay, what is Fox News besides a moneyed interest? Let's get to the bottom here. And so is, for that matter, so is NBC, so is CBS, Absolutely. So are all of them. So it's kind of.
I said this many times, and you're gonna hear me say this again in this video. I really hate when people demonize a part of the media as if that part of the media is the problem. It's the same thing when people say guns don't kill people. People do. The media, corporate media rather, is not corrupt. Corporate media doesn't lie. Corporate media is not evil. What is evil and who is lying are lying, evil, disgusting, greedy, self-interested journalists who happen to work at these corporate media stations. But the problem is the people, not the medium. Because independent media is far worse than mainstream media. Mainstream media at least has some guidelines. I know people think it's hard for people to process that. You can't just do anything you want on mainstream media. Just to give an extreme example, Chris Cuomo can't do a video talking about Pelosi's boobs, right? I can't imagine how wrinkly they must look, blah, blah, blah. Chris Cuomo should have been fired for some of the stuff that he's done. Many people at CNN should have been fired for the stuff they do. So people feel like they can do anything they want, but that's not the case. They do have limits. They do have standards. They may be very low, but there are standards. They have a legal team, right? They're more likely to deal with lawsuits. They have advertisers they have direct relationships with. YouTubers, you have a random person in their basement who doesn't answer to anyone, can't be fired, and can say just about anything they want to. The only risk is a bot might flag their video down, right? But they can be as biased, as partisan. They could just nonstop partisan content. Every day, the Democrats suck, or every day, Republicans suck. You can be as partisan as you want. You can make stuff up. You can lie. No one's firing you, right? We've seen people in mainstream media get fired. You don't get fired in independent media. The problem is with dishonest media. It's not about whether it's mainstream media, whether it's independent media, whether it's left-leaning, whether it's right-leaning. It's whether it's honest or not. Yes, MSNBC didn't cover the miners' strike. NBC didn't cover it. CNN didn't cover it. MSNBC didn't cover it. But did Tim Pool, did Blaze TV, did the Young Turks, did David Pakman, did Brian Tyler Cohen, did Steven Crowder cover it? Did Ben Shapiro cover it? Did Newsmax cover it? Stop isolating a particular part of media for a problem that is absolutely infesting the entire thing, with very few exceptions. The problem is the lack of integrity of journalists, not the medium that they work in.
Tougher because, and this is just from the interactions I've had and like my own hypotheses, right? But I think just because a bunch of coal miners in rural Alabama who are more conservative than what you would typically expect from a group of union folks, they maybe aren't as sympathetic of a subject to some of the editors I'm pitching who are well-off people in New York who maybe don't have as much experience with blue-collar life or rural life in America, who don't have that kind of like, oh, we got to help these guys. It's more like, oh, huh, okay, coal? I don't know. Okay, I'll get back to you.
This again illustrates the problem with when you isolate a part of the media. If they were talking about media in general, they would be able to go from this point that she made to pointing out something I've pointed out in my channel already. Conservative media is not really conservative. It's anti-liberal. That is the brand. That is the business model, right? If they were conservative, then they would be reporting on things like, for example, Texas. Why did they have the power outage, right? When they talked about that, they were just attacking the left, right? The left, oh, it's Green New Deal and wind power. Were they actually concerned about the conservatives in Texas that were struggling without power? Were they doing donations, like raising money for these people? No, we had a liberal AOC raise $5 million for the people in Texas, and then no one in conservative media even reported on that. So she's talking about liberal media may not be wanting to report on the mining strikes because they're liberal and they don't really, these are conservative, they don't really care. But again, where's Ben Shapiro? Where's Tim Pool? Where's Blaze TV? Where's Steven Crowder? Where's Newsmax? They don't give a fuck. They're not conservatives. They're anti-liberals. Their entire business is attacking the left and attacking liberals and attacking the Democrats and attacking Biden, right? Now, don't get me wrong. They all need to be attacked because there's corruption rampant on the left. But it's hypocritical if you're spending every day talking about that and you're silent on the corruption in the Republican Party. And you're silent when conservative Republicans are struggling in this great nation, which you'll gladly keep repeating about how great this country is. But yet you have people struggling in rural parts of this country, and Ben Shapiro doesn't care to report on that. He doesn't care to help those people. He doesn't care about conservatives, right? Steven Crowder doesn't care about conservatives. They just want to make money from conservatives, right? From pandering to them and talking about the Constitution and having their flags and look, American flag and, oh, the left, the left, the left, the left. But when it comes down to it, these guys are establishment media. When you look at the independent guys on the left and the right, they're establishment media. These big guys, Brian Tyler Cohen, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, establishment. That's who they support. Conservative media supports this establishment Republican Party. When a story comes out that makes them look bad, they keep quiet about it, right? And they spend a lot of time attacking the Republican Party's opponents, which is the Democrats. So it's essentially conservative media works for the Republican Party, all while pretending to not like the Republican Party. And then you have in liberal media the same thing, right? Brian Tyler Cohen, David Pakman, these guys are establishment. Biden goes to his first trip, has many embarrassing moments. These guys were all over Trump when Trump sounds ridiculous, as he usually does, slurring his words and just talking like a drunk person, right? They're all over, oh, something must be wrong with him. He must be having some mental decline. Biden goes on his first trip and he sounds like a retard. Where are these guys? They can't talk about it because they don't want to hurt the Democratic Party, who they essentially work for. Biden just did a town hall. Again, embarrassing moments. Sounds like he has some kind of mental issue, just like Trump did. These same people who are covering Trump and let me have some psychologists or whatever, where are they showing Biden with something wrong with his brain? They got nothing to say. We have to protect the Democratic Party while pretending to be opposition to, right? Right.
People on the picket line. Strikers have been sent to the hospital a week or so.
I'm sorry. That just sounds to the uninitiated ear so bizarre. People on multiple occasions in a way that's very difficult, I would assume, to dismiss as just sheer accident, have run their cars into picketing strikers.
Yeah, there's video. It's very difficult to spin a video of a big black truck going down a highway, then turning off onto a dirt area and going straight into a line of people. You can't really spin that. And what's on top of that, something that really, it's a family affair down there, right? Like I've gotten very close with a lot of the women and the auxiliary members who are doing support work, and I talk to them very frequently, and they told me about a week or so ago, one of the women I've spoken to, she got hit. She was on the picket line to support her husband, and she was hit by a burn barrel that, flew out of the way of a truck. And her husband was hit a couple weeks before. So here's an entire family that's been laid out in these vehicular attacks that the companies completely mum about. And somehow it's not national news.
Wonder why they think that. Well, let's take a look at what that bedrock of democracy, cable news, has been up to recently over at CNN. Over the past week or so, they broke the bombshell news that Ron DeSantis' PAC is selling Don't Fauci My Florida merchandise. They had on the illustrious John Bolton to call Donald Trump a fascist. They covered updates to the Subway sandwich menu and Trump's former doctor getting upset with reporters. Over on MSNBC, they dug into how awesome Biden advisor Ron Klain is. They also talked about the debate over the term Latinx, the presence of a literal white privilege card on some accused would-be bomber, and also the DeSantis Don't Fauci My Florida merchandise. 100 miners are on strike right now in Alabama. Those miners have now been on strike for nearly 4 months in what is truly a historic action. In fact, it is the first widespread miner strike in 4 decades. Pretty noteworthy, especially given the number of workers involved, the fact that some of the picketers have been intentionally struck by cars, and because also of the involvement of major private equity players. And yet, not one of these networks has uttered a single solitary word about this strike over these many weeks and months.
Insane. I cover a lot of stories that left-wing media and right-wing media don't cover. Stuff that right-wing media suppresses, I cover. Stuff that left-wing media suppresses, I cover. And again, I don't make a huge distinction between corporate media versus independent media. It's really that this country has become very tribal. So it's left versus right. If you're on the left, Dr. Fauci is a god and cannot be questioned. Anyone on the left that wants to get away with doing something like maybe Governor Cuomo, all you need is to get someone on the right to attack you, and then left-wing media will protect you. They'll say it's just a right-wing conspiracy theory, whatever, right? Fauci is king on the left. Right-wing media, Trump is king. Can't question him. You can't say anything bad about him. You've got to kiss his toes, right? You got to worship Trump as a god. So if Trump does something corrupt, right-wing media, nothing to say. They suppressed the second impeachment. And by the way, they're going to suppress the hearing this week. Thanks for me reminding myself. I need to cover that. This week, you're going to see a major blackout. How do I know this? I can't tell the future. It's just that the media is so predictable. You can tell what they won't cover. Left-wing extremists go and do something violent. Left-wing media won't cover it. Right-wing extremists go and do something violent. Right-wing media won't cover it. A hearing that makes Republicans look bad or Trump supporters look bad, right-wing media won't cover it. Sure, you'll get little snippets where they'll tell you what to think. They'll tell you how it's stupid and it's partisan and Pelosi this and whatever. But are they going to actually show you the hearing? Are they going to actually show you what was actually the substance of it? No. The better the hearing is in terms of getting to the bottom of what happened, the less you're going to hear about it from right-wing media. So yet again, I'm going to be one of the only people on YouTube to cover something. When Biden attacked Somalia, almost a week went by, no coverage. I don't think there's been any major coverage in CNN and MSNBC even to this point. There were other shootings that were covered that didn't meet certain narratives I covered, and no one else really covered it. And here I am again. So you saw Bad Faith podcast covering the miner strike and talking about mainstream media not covering it. You saw Breaking Points, which I highly recommend. I actually recommend both of them. They're pretty good. Talking about mainstream media not covering the miners. So now I'm going to be the only one that goes beyond just focusing on mainstream media as if they're the problem. It's not just mainstream media, it's media, regardless of whether it's mainstream or it's independent. Because let's take a look. Did Newsmax cover the miner strike? I don't know why people are such in love with the big networks. Fox, I mean, I say big, but Steven Crowder's got like 7 million, right? So Newsmax, I don't see anything. Blaze TV, anything about the miner strike? Nope. Tim Pool, I don't see anything. And guys, if I miss anything, please comment below and let me know. I'm scanning through these channels to see if they posted anything. I might miss it. So anything from Steven Crowder, I don't see anything. Nothing about the miner strike. Anything here? So you have blue collar working class people who Republicans and conservatives, they're supposed to be the party of the working class, right? And this is supposedly conservative media, right? So you'd think that they'd be all over showing support for these working class people. Officer Tatum would be all over exposing the police officers who refuse to protect the minors, right? They're getting hit by cars. They're complaining to the cops. And from what I'm hearing, the cops aren't really doing anything. Is Officer Tatum going to talk about it? No, he's just going to talk about, oh, the left trying to say somebody planted drugs. And then it turns out it's not actually what they said it was. Oh, okay, great. You're doing a video protecting the cop. But when the cop does wrong, usually you got nothing to say, right? Project Veritas, of course not. Let's see, whatever. Anything about the minors? Nope. Remember, the Democrats don't care about working class people. They just pander to them, right? They are corporate. They're all about the corporate donors, the donor class, right? But the Republicans are trying to point that out and trying to make it look like, no, we are the ones for the working class. No, you're not. There's Matt Gaetz, nothing. Conservative twins, nothing. Liberal hive mind, nothing. Michael Knowles, he's a conservative, right? He should be concerned about conservatives that are struggling, that are being hit by cars. Like, right? Right. Ruben Apport, nothing. Black conservative, nothing. Conservative in name only. He's got the American flag pandering to his audience. Just the classic flag waving. CNN, nothing. They got UFOs, Taliban leader, nothing about it. Nope. MSNBC, nothing. Of course, they're all ready for the January 6th commission, which the conservative media will be hiding, and liberal media will be all over it all day long. David Pakman, of course not. Right? Talking about Trump. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about propaganda? So Joe Biden's ranking is tanking. That rhymes. His ratings are dropping. I think it's 50%. So Pakman is going to pick out the one demographic where it's going up. So while the right is pointing out that his ratings are falling, over here in this alternative universe, his ratings are soaring because he picks out the independents. Just like he did with the stuff at the border, right? Situation out of control at the border, he plays games about, oh, it's seasonal, whatever. So on the right, you see accurately, well, for the most part, how crazy things are at the border. On the left, oh, no, it's fine. It's just the right wing, whatever. You see how each side spins something? So you have something that looks really bad for the right. They will spin it. Either they don't talk about it, they'll spin it somehow that it's not what you think it is. So in that realm, you're like, oh, everything's fine. On the left, they'll talk about it because, of course, anything to attack the right. If you're on the right, anything to attack the left. Tribalism. Infesting this country. Brian Tyler Cohen, is he talking about the miners' strike? Does he care about working class people? And this is how we got Trump, by the way. So these people who claim they don't like Trump, even though they made a lot of money off of Trump, independent media on the left, corporate media on the left, made a lot of money from Trump. Trump was amazing for them. But they want to pretend like they don't like Trump and this whole activism, like, oh, we got to get him out of the office and democracy, right? How did we get Trump in the first place? Because of what's happening right now. You have tons of people, millions in this country are suffering right now, about to lose their homes. You have these miners striking, getting hit by cars. There's tons of forgotten Americans that the Democrats don't care about. But they're in their bubble watching their left-wing media and everything seems fine. Biden's doing a much better job than the orange guy and things are opening up and whatever. Meanwhile, millions of Americans are suffering. They're too busy struggling to be able to have their voices heard. They're trying to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, trying not to get kicked out on the street. They don't have time to be making too much noise, right? Their heads are down. They're fighting for survival, being neglected and ignored by the Democratic Party, neglected and ignored by Joe Biden, being neglected and ignored by liberal media, whether it's corporate or independent. We have an entire underclass of millions of Americans who are being neglected. And then you have the fraudulent Republicans who will use this to leverage for votes. They'll point out accurately how the Democrats don't care about you, right? All they care about is their elites and blah, blah, blah. And then you have vulnerable people who will fall for this bullshit and then go vote for Republicans and get nothing for their vote. But the Republicans are so good with their propaganda, especially with the help of establishment independent media like Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, who will back them up no matter what they do, no matter how much failure they do. They'll back them up. So the Republican Party will pretend like they're doing great stuff and put out all these talking points, blah, 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 unemployment is this and that, and lower this and then right-wing media will repeat it, gaslighting these voters. Many who won't actually ever realize that they were scammed. They were scammed by pointing out that the other party is a scam as well. The Democrats, they don't do nothing for you. Vote for us. You vote for them, you get nothing. But they make you feel like you got something. And many people fall for it. This is the reality of this country. One of the most dangerous things in this country is our media. Media is critical. It's important. But it's infested with propaganda. Left-wing, right-wing, mainstream media, independent media. It's everywhere. So the American people don't have a good touch of the reality of what's happening in this country. We're getting more and more divided for profit. This is capitalism run wild. Pure socialism is bad. Pure capitalism is bad. The sweet spot is somewhere in the middle. A little bit of a safety net and the ability for businesses to thrive. But in this country, we are leaning too far into capitalism, which is essentially heading us towards savagery. That's where nothing matters other than money, profits, power. That's all that matters. These miners getting hit by cars, who cares? How can I make money from that? I can't make money from it. I don't care. Let them die. Let them get run over. Not interested. Democrats not really doing much, meaning that we might have some clown Republican win in 2024, pushing the country backwards. Who cares? I'm making millions of dollars right now. And if we get some crackpot president in 2024, I'm going to make millions more. So bring on the chaos because I'm going to make more money. The more chaos in this country, the more these people make money. Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Blaze TV, just you name it. The Young Turks, Brian Tyler Cohen, David Pakman, they want chaos. It's better for content. They make more money with that. They're not on our side. They pretend to be on our side. They pander to us. They don't care. Remember David Pakman was talking about, all this stuff about we need to really, really vote for Biden because if the election is close, they're going to do all kind of da-da-da-da. That's nonsense. We just need to have the most votes. That's how elections work. This guy literally encouraging people that don't worry about voting heavily. Trump almost won, and somebody like David Pakman would have helped that. Meanwhile, pretending to be like, Trump is horrible. The guy who's still live streaming Trump's events. June, July, summer of 2021, this supposed leftist is still streaming Donald Trump rallies. Lincoln Project talking about they're trying to restore the Republican Party and we got to get Trump out. Trump is out. What are they doing? Are they helping to rebuild the Republican Party like they promised? No, it's capitalism gone wild. All the Lincoln Project cares about is money. Everyone is just looking for that money. These hosts, these networks, savages. We don't care what happens to this country. We don't care what wars are started. We don't care how many people die. All we care about is how much more money can we make. Fuck the miners. Fuck the people about to lose their homes. How much money can I make from my next video? That's all that matters. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Guys, we can sit around and complain or we can do something about it. The reason why these savages in the media are the way they are is because it's profitable. Why is it profitable? Because you watch and you support and you tolerate this. start holding the people you watch accountable. If you're a Tim Pool fan, you're a Blaze TV fan, you're a Fox News fan, you are a Young Turks fan, you're a Brian Tyler Cohen fan, stop sitting there. Just tell them all the great work they're doing. If you're watching a left-wing channel, demand that they start calling out the left as well. And not just occasionally, consistently. Put as much effort into calling out the left as you do the right. If you're watching right-wing media, demand that they stop focusing on liberals every day. If you're conservative media, focus on conservatism. Focus on the people that your audience is voting for. Focus on the conservatives that are struggling and being hit by cars and being ignored. Have some kind of integrity. Focus on something else other than yourself. Many of these journalists are millionaires. They don't need any more money. It's nothing but pure greed. Disgusting.